We're disrupting healthcare, starting a chiropractic lifestyle revolution. So this is a major, major disruption. If you pay attention here, this will definitely expand your mindset. So the world is changing fast. You guys know it. You're going to become a healthcare leader, creating chiropractic movement. If you notice, change this slide. That's what we're creating, a movement. What's different about a movement? People have purpose, they have conviction. Here's the major characteristic of a movement. The organization wants to make social change. They see a problem in the world and they want to go out and change it. And that's how I always built big practices. I gave my patients purpose. That's what elite is. To go out and say, you know what, we got a problem in the world and we have the answer. And we are here because we have a purpose from God that we're going to make a difference. Now, when 93% of the people, hey, what's up, don't have a purpose, then I don't know any bigger purpose than bringing God out of the best of people and giving them a chiropractic purpose. So right now, this is already the pattern interruption. He's already creating a disruption. So all you got to do, ooh, look at this new slide, is follow the wake, man. Get on the RFK Junior battleship. And all you got to do is get on a jet ski and get in the wake, jump across there a couple times because it's moving. It doesn't take a lot, but you have to decide. You have to decide your purpose is bigger than building a practice. Building a practice is boring. That's easy. It's one at a time. It's not that much fun. But having a purpose that's so much bigger than you that you have to hone your skills. You got to master your skills and you got to create leaders. And that is bringing, in my opinion, is bringing heaven to earth. So for the last 20 years, I'm going over this again. I studied people in that disrupted industries. So we're going to go over the quotes. These are the people I studied from: Tony Robbins, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Shit, I just blanked on his name here. Reed Hastings of Netflix. Obviously, Travis Kalanick. And this guy who you don't know, who now has a 3.7 trillion dollar, trillion with a T, e-commerce business, Keith Krach. And his 5-step model that he created, 3 multi-billion-dollar industries and a multi-trillion-dollar industries, are exactly what we teach in Elite. So what are we going over tonight? Day 4, how to have 80%, should be 100, of your patients ask you to bring their kids in on day 1. Now, this was after the patient education model, 11 years, frustrating, educate, talk. I got tired of, did we have a great pediatric practice? Absolutely. Was it 80%? I would say it was maybe 40%, which is still bigger than most. But what happened to those 60% of kids? And that used to drive me insane. How come I don't have 100%? So finally, I gave up on patient education. Check this out. Unlock the power of family first chiropractic care and watch your practice grow as families embrace chiropractic lifestyle. Now, when I started studying human behavior, and I created all the systems that you guys learn in Elite, I mean, I would say it went up to probably 70%. And that's not even what I know now. That was only a year or two of studying human behavior. So this works. And then I studied all those leaders to teach you what you need to do to disrupt healthcare. And I will say, when that becomes your goal, your core values and your standards will be higher, more focused. You're going to have more conviction. You're going to become unwavering, and you won't accept no. So when somebody gives you an objection, it's not that you won't accept no for an answer. First of all, people aren't going to give you no, literally. They're going to give you an excuse. But you're always going to find a way because you see an objection or a no as something they don't understand. We got a 16-year-old girl in the house. There's obviously many things your kids don't understand, right? And then finally, it's like, just do what I tell you. You don't pay the rent. How about that? Let's start there. So, but anyway, your core values and standards mean you are unwavering. You're unstoppable. You see excuses only as mindset and beliefs, and then you know how to change them. So there's never a no, there's only a misunderstanding. An objection is not a closed door. It's just a door for you to have an opportunity to walk through. It's really when you're on a spiritual basis, you're on a spiritual level, you're flying at 1,000 feet. You're looking through your God glasses. All you see, if you want to call an objection, is ignorance. You just don't know, you just don't understand. And what you're doing is because your heart and your spirit knows the truth that you're an energetic being, and energy's got to get to matter. And if you're going to live your God-given purpose, you can't be subluxated, and that's the real reason that they are there. Now they could think my ankle hurts, my knee, I want some injections, blah blah blah. That doesn't matter. That's you buying into the world. That's you looking outside for your identity and not inside for your identity, and seeing who they are on the inside. And then it doesn't matter why they think they came in initially. When you give them the message, they're going to feel it in their heart and they can't say no. And all they're going to do is they may say something in their frontal lobe that they're thinking or as a belief system, but all you see is they don't understand. They've been told something else. They want the truth. Every human being wants the truth. And you know when somebody is telling you the truth because you know instinctually that person's authentic, they're honest, they're loyal. When I went through professional coaching, I probably told this story before. They set up the room in a horseshoe. And then before they started the seminar, they said, what I want everyone to do is we're going to pick a person, we're going to go all the way around the room. And I want you to listen to your intuition. And I want you to look at that person and describe their qualities. And so we had about 60 people in the room. We went through all 60 people, and you would just look at them and tell their qualities. And they were accurate. You know, because you're a spiritual, energetic being, and everyone radiates what they're thinking, what they're feeling, where their heart is. Their true self is in there. Their higher divine self is in there. And if you can see that within them, that's what you will bring out. And then they can't say no to a chiropractic principle because it's a universal law. They don't even want to say no. And that's how you eliminate objections in advance. So when we go back to the model, what are your core values and standards? I mean, I pretty much just named them. That you are absolutely 100% committed to without question, and you don't have to think about it. One, you empower people to live their God-given potential. I mean, what else is there? That's why I just went through that whole rant, because you got to see God in them to bring God out of them. And not just to bring God out of them, to feel God within themselves. And that's when they become unstoppable. Because now it's not that they're unstoppable, they're so peaceful that they automatically come with you. Another core value, standard. 100% of people will know chiropractic is or preferably their healthcare lifestyle for them to live healthy and an amazing life. What's another one? We build lifelong relationships with multiple generations. Now, if we're going to create a legacy and we're going to affect generations, you have to have a relationship with their kids. You have to do it. And on day one, we went through the story. If you think about yourself in fifth grade, think of a memory in fifth grade. And, I think back in fifth grade, I remember living in Pennsylvania. I remember my friends. I remember the school. I remember the playground. I remember all these things. Why? Because it was an experience and we have emotions associated with it. So I just turned 64 yesterday. That was 54 years ago. And I remember the cutest girl in school, Wendy Force. Why do I remember her name? That's so funny. We build lifelong relationships in multiple generations because the relationship that you create with their kids, they will remember that forever. And you're going to implant belief systems into their mind that they will live by. What else? Core value standard. We're breaking generational patterns, man. Generational health patterns. They're 100%. That's why when you're a doctor, what do you look at? Family history. Chiropractic first, always. They come to you first. You're the primary healthcare provider. They're not going to run off and get a COVID shot because they're going to go, Dr. Kurt, Dr. Patrick, Jose, Rhonda, Susie, what do you think about this? I don't trust this. We never get vaccinations. Tell me what you think about COVID. you know, we're always coming here, doc. We know we come here because we want a strong immune system. Our school's telling us, my husband's work is saying, if we don't get a vaccination, they're gonna let him go. What should we do, doc? We can't do that. I need your help. If you're not getting those conversations, they didn't put you first. And what's that mean? When it comes down to a crisis, they go to their MD. Now, we talked about this yesterday. You have to have the transference of trust, the 4 simple principles. That's why we tell them what they didn't know, what they weren't told, by their other healthcare providers. Why? Because if you want to disrupt an industry, you have to create an enemy. Now, it's not an enemy energetically, spiritually, because we love all people and we're in unity, but it is an opponent. Now, when you're competing in a sport and you don't have an opponent, are you going to bring out 110%? Or are you going to get all nervous, anxious, put yourself in a higher state, and give 110% because you want to win? And that's why you do that. Why? Without an opponent, it doesn't bring the best in you. And that was, I didn't actually see it as an opponent, but when I found the principle, what was my greatest enemy? Vaccination. So I taught vaccination workshops. When a parent came in, absolutely you're bringing your kids. No kid will be vaccinated ever born in your family again. And so what did you do? Make bold statements, teach workshops, hand out vaccination books. At that time, hand out, I don't know, what were they, 8-track, VHS or, whatever those cassettes were, right? We used to hand out those things. Why? Because there's an enemy out there and it's in a needle and it's satanic and it ain't happening under my watch. And did I know how to communicate? Hell no. But as an independent contractor, I got $350 a week. I didn't know what a pre-consultation was, man. I was just all fired up about it. We give people purpose to change healthcare. That is a core value and a standard. Why? Well, I figured that one out after 11 years of doing screenings and doing talks and blah, 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 and creating victims. You create patients as victims when you educate. Why? Because you're telling them what to think. And when I learned, I create people that are independent, that are purpose-driven. When you educate, you create a victim because when you tell them what to think, they can't think for themselves. So what happens? That person that gets all fired up on your information and then cancels their report of findings because my sister said I need to go to the orthopedist. Well, what did I learn? Patient education creates sheep. And when they go outside, it's a world of wolves. So I'm creating the alpha wolf. So when that alpha wolf walks down the street, people don't mess with their opinion, or they're going to get eaten out in the world. And that's when I learned I got to create leaders, not patients. And I have to create them with a purpose that wants to solve a world problem, so the chiropractic lifestyle feels like a calling. It's above a purpose. It feels like a calling. And that's what I used to say to him to a close in a workshop. Do you think God would give you a gift and an opportunity like this to keep it to yourself, healed from disease, live the life that you were called to, and not tell anybody else? Or do you think he created you to contribute, to put your hand out to those that are lower than you, to lift them up to who God created them to be? Which one would be a more fulfilling life for you? How many people agree it would be to contribute? And they would all raise their hand. And then I would go into, okay, sign up your family, sign up your kids, sign up your friends. But I would talk to their spirits, not to their head. They can never say no when it resonates in their spirit, because it's a universal truth. That's not patient education. That is empowering people. All of these core values, 100% will happen. Now, you will talk to them with those core values and standards. Doesn't mean everybody's ready to change their life. No. But I found when you're 100% on these, you'll get 9 out of 10. People that are doing every step of elite get 85 to 92% to commit to care, and 92 to 96% of all those average of 90% go into monthly payments for lifestyle and the optimal life plan. So I think that's pretty good. And the people that are making $1 million a year just on their or more, just on the monthly payments, they think it's pretty good too. Unwavering principles that fuel our mindset. That's what this is. This fuels your mindset. Now I go over these every day. I want them to get ingrained in you. And if you say those 3 devastating words that stop all learning, what are those 3 words? I know that. I was on a call today. Who was on? I was on a call with Hamza, the dude in Canada. And he had a nurse as a patient. You know, the energy brain sends energy down the spinal cord, your lifelines, the energy keeps you healthy. What's the nurse say? I know that. I know that. I'm a nurse. Well, I doubt it, right? Well, I know spinal cord keeps you alive. Did your MDs in your hospital talk about the word subluxation? Do you hear that word being used consistently? And if not, did you know it's a dimmer switch and all shuts the energy down and the organ and the nerves cause disease? Do you hear them talking about subluxations leading to the disease of the patients they're treating? Do they talk about that? Just curious. If you want to soften it, just curious. You know, that's probably how I would handle it. So when a person says, I know that, know-it-alls, then you say, well, great. Then as you must know what a subluxation is. They must talk about it in the hospital. So you have a back injury, your organs are being compromised, and that's why you're really here. Because the nervous system supplies health and energy to every cell in your body. So that's why you're here, right? Now, a person that wants to be a know-it-all, they can't say no, right? They can't say, well, I didn't know that. But you'd say, unless you weren't aware of that. Now, what would I do? I would change the word from know to aware. That way they'll be safer telling you what they weren't aware of as opposed to what they didn't know. So what are we doing? Just fucking with them with vocabulary. That's what we're just fucking with them in vocabulary. Oops, sorry. I wasn't supposed to swear. People don't buy product service, they buy identity. Tony Robbins, we went over this every day, right? This in the boot camps. Why? So we got to make identity statements, not health statements. Health is a condition. Identity is how they feel about themselves with that health condition. We're not selling chiropractic. We're selling who were they subluxated and who are they going to become unsubluxated. People don't buy products or services, they buy beliefs. So what do? We change beliefs, right? That's why we mess with our vocabulary. Elon Musk, associate your business with the physics of the universe. Now, when these drive your mindset, these are the fuel that drive your mindset. You shouldn't have to think about these. These should be in your heart. This is in your DNA. These people disrupted the world. This should be almost an identity of your communication and the way you think. These are right brain principles. You're like, we know this is the fourth day in a row. You've been saying this. Spend money to make the product better rather than advertise. Well, with a patient, it's going to be invest money to make their lives and the health of their families' lives better. Right? Simplify everything. Keep it easy, man. That's why we went through the 4 simple principles yesterday. Leaders start with the customer and work backwards. What do? You start with all those core values and standards, and then you begin with day 1. Don't sacrifice long-term, meaning don't compromise on the core values. Don't compromise on your standard. Because if you do, you're not going to get the same outcome. Now, I was talking to a team today in a very purpose-driven team, and they're at $450 a week, and typically at $450, but they came down from $800 when they had team problems. So their goal is to get to $1,000, but they're at $450. So they had some snow in Chicago, and last week they hit $360. I'm like, WTF, man. This is freaking embarrassing. What's going on? 70 some odd kept appointments. Well, it's cold outside. Do you know you live in Chicago? Just checking. Did you go to the grocery store? Well, and the doctor said, well, I didn't ask that question. That's because you settled. You compromised your standard. You didn't find out the mindset of why you live in Chicago and you don't want to go out in the cold. Like, is that a contradiction? So what do? We settle for short-term excuses and then we sacrifice lifestyle. You settle for an excuse and you lose 50 years. You lose generations. You lose interrupting healthcare, disrupting a whole industry that is satanic. So check who you believe you are, right? You're a child of God. You have a calling, and we can't sacrifice that. So more unwavering principles. Start with what's best for the customer, your core values and your standards, and the principle and your purpose. Find the gap between popular perception and reality. What's popular perception? Pain care. It's snowing outside. My kid doesn't need chiropractic. What's popular perception? Well, we went over yesterday. In 2015, Gallup did a study. 17% of Americans went to chiropractors. 70% believed it was about neck pain and back pain. 2022, only 11% went to chiropractors, and now 85.7% think it's about neck pain and back pain. Strategic pause. What we're doing isn't working, in case anybody didn't notice. The patient education model isn't working. Mrs. Joan, how's your back pain affecting your life? Isn't working. Tell them give them what they want, tell them what they need. Isn't working. So how about if we follow this instead? Seems pretty easy to me. Be an owner, not a renter, man. Revolutions are won by true believers. One, you have to be unstoppable. When you are unstoppable, you will create unstoppable people. How do you become unstoppable? When you decide that your calling is to disrupt healthcare, you have the ability. The battleship is leaving a big fat wake. Get your jet ski in there. People over process. That's why we don't have a model of patient education. We have a self-empowerment model. We don't manage patients, we inspire patients. We give them purpose. We give them the calling. This is the fuel that drives everything that you say. And then we have our core values are like blinders on a racehorse. And our standards mean all I can see is what's straight ahead, and I'm running as fast as I can. They must. So how do we get 80% family referrals? Now, before we get into this, am I going to tell you anything I haven't told you before? Probably not. But hopefully, when you listen to it with that fuel and with those core values and standards that you make in your heart, in your spirit, in every chromosome of your body, your calling, then you'll see this from a different level. Now, I know you guys have already done that, otherwise, you wouldn't be on here. So, the principle is why they will ask you to bring their kids. And this is what they have to get. They got to understand the principle first. If there's any objection, they don't get the principle. Bottom line, they don't get it, because if they knew my body is relying on that lifeline spinal cord and it's not getting all the energy, and every freaking millisecond that I leave my spine out of alignment that shuts down that energy, my body is creating disease. And then they don't care. They don't get it. They don't get it unless they repeat it back to you and they give you another higher priority. And then great. So if your health isn't a priority, and that's why you say, you know what? Thank you so much for being honest. So in Elite, there's only two possibilities. I'm ready to change my life, or my health's not a priority. There's no, I don't have the money. There's no insurance. I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. We already have a system for no money. It's a 3-step financial, right? Explore all options. Now, people that have desire that don't have money, what are they going to say? Doc, I get it, man. Nobody told me this. I never took care of my spine and nervous system for 46 years. I hate the direction my life and my health is going. I know this is the answer I need. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. What didn't they say? I can't afford it. What did they say? I have no idea how I'm going to do this. That's a person with desire. And then when you go through all financial resources, like, shit, okay, I get it. You don't have the money, man. Not right now, but every financial situation is temporary. And if you're a spiritual being and you want it bad enough, you will create some opportunity where some money from or some person is going to come in your life. And me, at this point now, if the financial person came in and I understood that situation, I would grab their hand and I would pray. And then I'd put them on a limited program, on a home care program, come once a week. And then me, because we work for God, we don't work for people. People do not pay our bills. Our business does not pay our bills. God is our source and our supply. God pays our bills. We are 1000% committed to serving his children at the highest level, and God will always take care of you financially. And that's what I would pray. I would sit there and I would say a quick prayer, and then I'd set them up on a limited program. But I would check them once a week, and I would make sure they were diligent on their home care. And then every month or every 6 weeks, I would sit them down and redo a financial, because I would bet a miracle is going to happen in their life if they want it bad enough. Do you look at your practice with that level of faith? Is God your marketer? Is God your CEO? And if it's not, that's why you may have a problem finding the right staff. because you're looking to the world, you're not looking to your source. So we went through the 4 simple principles. Day 1, principle mindset 1, spine and nervous system, foundation, life, health, body. You know, you have health conditions, but you only have one problem. You have an energy problem. And then how did you end up like this? Because you never took care of your spine and nervous system for 42 years. And this is the foundation, because health and life and health are energy. Moves through your spinal cord. It's got to get out to your body. Any disruption of that energy or in the state of disease, you will get sick. Done. They must get it right in the pre-consultation. Don't settle for small objective agreements or mediocre answers. Now, that was a coaching call today because, like, I don't know how to handle this person. She was a nurse. I know that. I know that. I know that. He didn't know how to handle her, so I showed him how to handle it. What's the media? So he says, what happens if people disagree? Okay, I get it. But they're very objective. You just got a message that nobody told you in your whole life that is running your life, and you give me an objective response? No, you don't understand. So an objective response, you don't get it. I wouldn't say that, but I would say, okay, this doesn't match. This doesn't match the life-changing message I just gave you, so I have to handle it right now. Okay, I understand. I'd say, great. What do you understand? Do you understand the anatomy, or do you understand this is running your whole life? That would be a great question. That's a responsibility question. And if they say, no, I understand the anatomy, I mean, they're probably not going to say that. No, I understand. Understand what? Which one? It's anatomy, or it's running your whole life? Like, is it you have a spinal cord, or that spinal cord is your lifeline that's determining just about everything in your life? Raise your standards. Strategic pause. That's Tony Robbins. I mean, if you ever listen to Tony Robbins, anything, what's he say? 3 words going to elevate your life. Now, you're not going to like it. You've heard it before, blah, blah, blah. It's so easy, but it's so hard until you make a decision. By the way, another one of his quotes, a decision happens in a moment. It may take you 10 years to make that decision, but when you decide, and this is not Mark Twain. I forget his name. It's one of the slides in the boot camp. When you decide and you turn completely another way and you walk away into the direction of your new decision, you engage the whole universe to conspire in your favor. So what have you not made a complete decision on so far? And then raise your standard. Principle mindset 2, what you weren't told. So once they know, we went through this last night, once they get it about their spinal cord, then what they weren't told, you were given drugs, you didn't know you had an energy problem, he didn't tell you that you have an energy problem. You have a health condition caused by an energy problem. Your pediatrician, since you had asthma since you were 5 years old, and you had immune system problems. Now you're 26 with an autoimmune disease. They never told you your spine didn't probably form right. They didn't ask you about birth trauma. They didn't tell you your nervous system is going to determine how your immune system develops. You've never had a mature immune system in your whole life. Is it a surprise that now it's degenerated into an autoimmune disease that could have been stopped in your early childhood? That's what creates the enemy. They will never go back. That's the foundation, one of the foundations, the principle, and what you weren't told. Create the enemy. That's the foundation of chiropractic first. That's why when they do this, now you're going to talk about generational health patterns. and their kid has allergies, and I would bet their pediatrician didn't tell them that, they're going to swoop their kids up right out of that office and bring them straight to you. That's how you get them to ask you. Get the principal 100%, tell them what they weren't told. Now we go to the consultation. Obviously, they got to understand the health, disease, organ relationship, but they have conditions, not problems. You only have one problem. You never took care of your spine and nervous system. Now you have an energy problem. Talk generational patterns. The consultation, since you're going through health issues, we're talking about health patterns. Now, I know that you know this, and when you set it up with this, and this defines it, you're going to create a much bigger emotional reaction. Now, you're going to ask about generational patterns in general. So I had another coaching call. Actually, it was with chiropractor. The associate just started. He has kids. And I said, do you have any generational patterns that you're carrying? He said, no. Does your kid have allergies, problems? I mean, it's a chiropractic kid. Nope, 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 none of that. So if somebody comes in like that, I'd say, what are the health patterns of your parents? My mom has heart problems. There you go. Now, if he wasn't a chiropractor, generational patterns are 100%, right? So you ask 3 questions. Now, the probability he would have a heart condition is pretty high. If he was young, I would say generational patterns are 100%. You may not have symptoms yet, but you certainly don't. How old was your mom when she developed a heart problem? Now, if they're 26 and she developed a heart problem when she's 45, what would I say? Let's go back to Steve Jobs. Become a great storyteller. So what would I say? Well, you're 26. Hers finally appeared at 45. Just curious, do you want to wait and see if 20 years from now or 10 years from now you develop a heart problem? Do you want to wait? Or would you rather see if you have that pattern now? And then you would look at their posture. You would talk about all that. I mean, it's got left cervical translation. Of course, you're shearing the nerves in the bottom of your spine, bottom of your neck, top of your thoracic spine, which are nerves of the heart, are being, it's like kink in a garden hose, man. So you're only 26. Your mom, born when she was 45. It's just a matter of time, brother. I'm just curious if your mom has that same postural pattern. I bet she doesn't like having a heart problem. I bet she doesn't like having high blood pressure. Well, she takes medication, so it's not a problem. Really? Well, what if she didn't take it? We should have high blood pressure. And then what would happen if she had chronic high blood pressure? What might happen after that? She'd have a heart attack. Well, if she doesn't, is the blood pressure fixing anything? Is it curing anything? No. Well, if she could be cured, do you think she would like that better? Questions. 3 questions. Who are they getting that pattern from? You guys know this. Who are they giving it to? Here's the 3rd question that you guys may or may not ask. Who else in your family has it? So when the guy I was talking to, of course, he was a chiropractor, didn't have that, immediately, what do? I'd go to the 3rd question. What if somebody's got hypoglycemia? Well, who'd you get it from? Well, my parents don't have it. Do you have an aunt or uncle? Well, my uncle has diabetes. Did he die? No. Does he suffer continuously? Yes. So when you watch him suffering, and this is a generational pattern, I'm sure that you don't want to end up like that. No way. Do you know hypoglycemia, getting tired after you haven't eaten for a couple hours? Do you know that's a pre-diabetic condition? No, I didn't. Does that concern you? These are consultations. So what do you ask a parent in a consultation? Which kid is just like you? Every parent will name a kid. Absolutely. So the chiropractor, which kid is just like you? So he has 2 teenagers and a 6-year-old. So when I say, which kid is like you, what did he say? Well, my 2 teenagers, they're my wife's kids. They're not my kids. But my 6-year-old is, I'm told he's a clone of me. Great. Do you think it's important that if he's following this pattern to be able to correct it before it's even formed? Absolutely. Now, people could say, well, my stepkids, they're not mine. So what do? You settle. And Susie's like, I'm not settling. Of course, Patrick and, Jose and Mark. But what immediately did I follow up with? Because we have core values and standards. We're unstoppable. They're 100%. Which of your stepkids is just like your wife? He said, oh my God, my daughter. So you got a wife and a daughter that are exactly the same. Just curious, when they're menstruating at the same time, do you and your boy leave the house? I was just joking, obviously, kind of. But his answer was funny. It's like, I can't even chew right when they're both menstruating. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was funny. Maybe you didn't, but which kid is just like you? What's the bottom line? You don't stop because you're fucking unstoppable. Your spouse is contributing generational patterns, and so are you, right? Your kids are a combination of both. Do you think it's important to know your spouse's pattern? What am I setting up for? I know what's coming. The end of day one, they're going to bring their spouse to day two. You tell a mom that one of her kids may be mimicking her spouse, you just engage Mama Bear. She becomes a terminator. That husband will be there. Absolutely. Tap into the emotional resource that is unstoppable. So when a wife says, and for all you married guys and married women, even divorced women, I've been a divorced man. When there's a woman, oh, my husband won't come. I'd say, how long you been married? 30 years. I've gone 30 years. I could say with confidence, you've pretty much figured out when you want something bad enough, you know how to get your husband to do it. And what are they going to do? They're going to laugh and go, you're right. What's coaching? Pulling out a powerful emotional resource they're using in another area and associating it with this area. Every woman would go, yes, I absolutely do. Great. Why? If your spouse is giving his pattern to your kids and your mama protective bear, your mama bear protector of your kids, why do you want him here? Notice the question. Why do you want? What didn't I say? He needs to be here. Telling them will invoke a knee-jerk resistance. Why they want him here will invoke a powering emotion. That's NLP, by the way. Thank you, Tony. Do not tell them to get their kids checked. Well, if you're repeating their pattern, you should definitely get them checked. People generally don't like to be told what to do. I'm definitely one of them. So what would you do? Well, if your daughter or son is following your pattern, would it be important to you, speak to their values, to stop that pattern so they don't have to develop the same problems and suffer like you? Every parent will go to the ends of the earth so their kids don't suffer like they have, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to appeal to their emotions and values as a parent, get them to say yes. And then I'll say, and what they will say is, Doc, do you think I should bring her in? Now, if you say yes, you just told them what to do. What you say is, well, what do you think? And when they say absolutely, then what do you say? Do you want to make an appointment on the way out? Notice these words. Do you want? Why is it do you want? Because people don't buy what they need, they buy what they want. Does every person that walks in your clinic who's subluxated need to live a chiropractic lifestyle? Does every person on the face of the planet need to live a chiropractic lifestyle? Yeah. Do they want to? No, because they don't know. That's why I use these words. Do you want to make an appointment on the way out? And what are they going to say? Absolutely. Great. Now that you invited them into the process, you invited them in, they come to you. When you continually go to them, which is patient education, rather than changing beliefs, rather than empowering them, they're going to have more objections. How do you eliminate bullshit objection conversations? By empowering them to come to you. Now you don't have to tell them. They're going to want to do it. And she's going to go home and make sure her husband is with you on day 2. And if he's got any sense, he'll probably be, if he wants to be happy, he'll probably be there. Then we go to the exam. Now, since you're looking at postural patterns, they're all generational, right? Who did you get it from? Your parents. As soon as they say, my mom, first question, do they live in the area? Rather than, well, if your mom has this, and you go into education and you start teaching a freaking workshop, and what didn't you do? Just go right to the freaking point. They're right there. Fucking put your foot through the door. If they crack the door, walk through it right now. Do they live in the area? What if they say yes? Well, if your mom has MS and you have, migrating joint pain or irritable bowel, you also have an autoimmune. It's just a matter of time before you can end up like your mother. And I'm sure it's not that you don't want to end up like her. It's that you both can change your life and change your health. So if you could give that gift to your mother, how would you feel if you could help her turn her life around? What am I doing? I'm getting her into the emotion of contribution. That's what you have to do. Now, what if her mom's got MS, she's got rheumatoid-like, and her daughter has allergies? Then I'd say, look, your daughter's following the same pattern. Do you know you have the purpose right now? You can not only change 3 generations, but you can teach not only your relatives in your whole family tree, you can affect every generation even after your daughter. If you can eliminate this pattern from every generation after your daughter, do you want that opportunity and that purpose? I would give that to her right on day 1. Why? Because she's getting her freaking husband to the day 2 ROF. And what's our goal? Inspire and empower people over process. This is not patient education. This is empowerment. If she doesn't live in, how far? Well, he lives in the state right next door. When will they be in this area next? Because what can you do? Have them fly in on a Thursday, treat them 5 times Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They go home with a new body. So I've told you this story before. I had a relationship. She was on antidepressants because she had wicked migraines. I mean, debilitating migraines almost on a daily basis. 16-degree cervical kyphosis. I went to the hands-on CBP. We flew in on Wednesday night. She got treated all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday. We flew home on Sunday. Had 11 traction treatments in 3 days and went from a 16-degree lordosis 16-degree kyphosis to a 10-degree lordosis. 26-degree change in 3 days. That's why it doesn't matter where they live. Get on a freaking plane and change your life. They're better off coming to you than they are going down the street to someone who may not even adjust them, or may do a little trigger point and get a little facet click. No, raise your standard. Do you ever notice, say your kids, hey, do you never notice how they stand or sit? Every parent looks at their kid's posture and is like, oh my God, it's a nightmare. Do they tend to sit or stand one way? I would go through this in a workshop. Every person lives in their postural distortion. So I had my neighbor come up today, still making a thinking error. And what did I do? I muscle tested her posture. I told the story yesterday how I got my neighbor to come up and get adjusted. Well, they don't live there. They're there on an Airbnb. I told you that story yesterday. They're going to be leaving in 2 weeks. So we'll find them a CVP chiropractor. So I go, well, look, I told you this would come back. Yeah, left thoracic translation, la, 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 la. And what did she say? Same thing she said yesterday. Well, I sat in my chair all day and I leaned to the left. What did I do? Before she could even put a period on her sentence, we got to correct that thinking error. So I said no. She stopped her sentence and kind of smiled. And I said, you lean to the left because your body is bent to the left. That's why you don't lean to the right. And so I saw her eyebrows lift. Of course. I mean, I didn't even do it day one, right? But she knows she's going to go back and get under lifetime care. Generational patterns are 100%. Don't even fucking waver. Your child, Susie, is probably following your pattern. Well, with a patient, I would probably make a more certain statement. I would say that to the spouse. And, depending on the patient, I would say probably following your pattern. You have an opportunity right now. Generational patterns are 100%. The probability they're following your pattern is very high. Make them aware of what they're not seeing. That's why we say, do you ever notice how your kid stands or sits? Do you notice they tend to be in the same pattern? What are you doing? You're parting the veil on their reticular activating system. Now that they are conscious, they begin to see things from a different perspective. Always create, the minute you see a short leg on a parent, kid's got a short leg. I mean, we talked about this before, man. Find these kids, they got a 7mm short leg, put a heel lift in them, fixed translation. I've had kids in 8 weeks, 7mm short legs are now even. You got to fix them. Focus on the cord, energy, and healing, not the posture. Now, this woman came back today, sent me a text this morning. She slept amazing. First night, she slept like a baby, if you want to call it. She can't even remember the last time. What did I talk about? Well, it's because your posture is better. No, you got an adjustment that actually changed the structure of your spine, that opened up your spinal cord like a fire hose. What didn't she have? She said it was the first day I woke up without my neck in pain where I could actually move. Did I talk about her neck pain? What did I talk about? I go, look, your neck isn't shifted to the right like it was yesterday. That means your spinal cord is relaxed. That's why you slept. You're not in a state of anxiety. You're actually living in a state of peace. What am I doing? I'm making identity statements. So I mentioned the cervical translation, but look, your neck is right in line. That means your spinal cord is finally pouring energy through your neck into your body, and you're living in a more peaceful state. That's why you slept. Now, what she said, well, I did take an Advil PM because I needed to catch up on sleep. And I go, it wasn't the Advil. And she goes, you know what? You're right, because I took it the night before and I still was up all night. Don't let people give you fucking excuses. It was Advil. No, it wasn't. She said, you know what? You're right. She made a thinking error. People don't think and they make ridiculous statements. Don't accept them. Correct the thinking error. Well, I used to have heartburn, but you know what? I'm drinking a lot more water now, or, I go to bed an hour earlier. How about I freaking set your atlas 16 times? Talk about talk about the healing. So at the end of day one, you have 5 subluxations, 6 postural distortions, 18 different health problems. You never took care of your spine and the energy in your nervous system for 42 years of your life. None of your healthcare providers told you. Your medical doctor didn't tell you. He gave you a bunch of freaking drugs, even though you traumatized the crap out of your spine, and then your whole health degenerated more in 2 years than it did in the first 42 years. The chiropractor that just tried to get rid of your neck pain, that didn't work. He didn't tell you all about this. And that's why you suffered. Can you see how you ended up with 18 different health problems in the state of disease? Can you see how this is a generational pattern in your family? And how trauma actually can trigger those genetic patterns? Can you see when people learn this becomes their healthcare lifestyle? Can you see why now this is going to be your healthcare lifestyle for the rest of your life? That's where your work, you have to ask that the last 3 questions and them to agree. So you got to create the experience. Steve Jobs, create an insane customer experience. What's insane? You've completely changed their mindset. What's insane is what they thought before. Finally, they're getting into sanity. But it's so different than what they experienced that they have to establish a whole new belief system. Because those last 3 questions is where you are 1,000 committed, unstoppable, for them to agree to those questions. Am I done yelling yet? I was listening to, again, a video, Billionaire Mindset. And it was this guy speaker. And it was so funny because his whole talk, it was a live talk to an audience. He was yelling the whole time. And I thought, I don't think I have to practice yelling to people. I yell at the boot camps. I yell. The only place I don't yell is at healed seminars. So, end of day one, you're getting the initial requirements to be accepted as patients. Why do we have a patient application? Because you're empowering them step by step by step by step. And you're creating a person who's going to live and think differently. So here's what we're going to go over tomorrow with your x-rays, which causes your condition, how it's affecting your health, initial requirements to be accepted as a patient, your initial investment, and how you want to take care of your health and the health of your family for the rest of your life. For those reasons, Mary, can you see why you want your husband Jim with you tomorrow? Absolutely. You've already handled that. Number 5 isn't in the script, so make sure you get that. Day 2, all you need to talk about, principles 1 and 2. The spouse has to get spinal cord's lifeline. They must understand that. The x-rays, you're only measuring the damage of one problem. What's the one problem? You never took care of your spine and nervous system. Now you have an energy problem. You're going to talk about generational patterns to the patient and spouse. You're going to tell the spouse, your wife was telling me about your 12-year-old daughter. They're following the same pattern. Also, she told me about your son is very much like you. You have a pattern too that you're contributing to your kids. So the patient should already be concerned about their kids. Is it important for you, Jim, to know your pattern and if you're passing that to your children? Would that be important to you as a father? Absolutely. Well, then you go through the requirements to be, well, then what would I say? Well, do you think it would be important to get them checked? Yeah. Okay. Requirements to be accepted as patient. Get adjusted every day. Correction potential x-ray. Attend the workshop. Again, you go to the script. There's 8 things you're going to cover in the workshop. It's the only place you cover them. That's the only way they can move forward. If they don't go, you're not going to accept them as a patient. But what if they don't? What if they say, I'm going to go, and they show up without their spouse? Nope, come next week. But they should already be clear on that. If they don't show up, then when they come in, they got to pay for all their visits and go to the following week. What I found was, because we cover 8 things, and that's the only place, 8 out of 10 will come in the next workshop. 1 out of 10 will go to the following week. The 10th out of 10 won't ever show, and they eliminate themselves. Why? Because when they say, well, gee, doc, how long is it going to take? And I go, that's a fascinating question. I'm absolutely very intrigued that you asked that, because we spent about 15 minutes of the workshop and you didn't make it last week. So you don't have the answer to that question. Would you agree? Yes. So now you want me to have a minimal conversation with you. And what we can't really deal with is how you're going to stay healthy, recover your health, and stay healthy for the rest of your life. So we can't talk about that because you want to know a primary question. Right? Yep. Okay, I'm going to answer that at the workshop. So let's go up front. And I wouldn't answer their question. So they're either going to go or they're going to quit. You got to pull the weeds in your garden, man. Because if you don't pull the weeds, the flowers can't germinate on fresh soil. If you don't pull the weeds, you will never grow a complete garden. They got to pay in advance during the ROF. Do you believe as a parent, if you can stop potential pattern in your children that can affect the health for the rest of their lives, you would want to do whatever you need to do to investigate it? Would you agree? Sign their kids up. Now, what time is it? So I'm going to go really fast, 7:04. I've already done way too much talking. There's 7 things you do every week that can get family referrals. 1, we just went through it on day 1. Generational patterns. They're passing it to their kids. Who'd you get it from? Who are you giving it to? Who else in your family? Spouse to day 2. Talk about spouse generational patterns. Talk about the generational patterns that the patient already mentioned is concerned about their kids. Sign up the family to go to the workshop, including the kids, depending on their age. Get the workshop down and get a solid close down. Now, the close is only the action step, because the way you taught the workshop, they're taking responsibility, and they actually are looking for, geez, can you hurry up and finish so I can figure out what I have to do? Can you call up anything besides the workshop? Well, yeah, we don't call it. Well, we actually call it Regaining Your Youth Vitality Workshop, right? The keys to staying young and healthy for a lifetime. So we have all that already done. And yes, call it whatever you want, man. We already have a marketable title. Then after the workshop, what do? We have them go through 20 to 30 health and life goals. Why? Where there's no vision, people perish. Steve Jobs, become a great storyteller. Here's the story of your history of suffering. Here's the story of your next 50 years. So you find their values and purpose based on their goals, and you give them a purpose while you're telling the story of the life they envision. 5, Thursdays are Friends and Family Day. So on Thursdays, what do you have? We used to have a gift certificate. Hey, man, you want to get your kids checked? Bring them on Thursday. Hey, man, you've been talking to your neighbor? Bring them on Thursday. Now, can they bring them any other day? Absolutely. But why do we have the theme Friends and Family Day? Because it reminds you and your team, for family members, family trees, the whole family tree, and their closest loved ones. You find out, how many people do you absolutely love? Give me 3 to 5 people that you absolutely love. Let's start with the first 3 to 5. And now we have a system where it reminds us to get friends and family. Now, what do people say? Doc, I want to bring my friend in on Thursday, but they can't make it on Thursday. Doc, is it okay if I bring him in on Tuesday? Oh my God, you're changing the day. All right, fine. Morning or afternoon. Like this is what happens. Your patients become committed to that and it gives them away, right? Definitely re-exams, because what's the purpose of the re-exam? Not to show them improvements on their objective findings. If all you do is show them improvement on their objective findings, you just told them why they need to quit, why they're going to quit, because it's healthcare. I came with a health problem. You're fixing it. It's fixed. I'm out. The purpose of the re-exam is to raise their state, to get them committed to lifestyle, to give them purpose, and to make them unstoppable. That's the purpose. We have the 8-step re-exam. And then finally, 3 ways to refer. What's one? Create the best type of patient possible. Refer somebody to the workshop. Somebody that sits in the workshop is a guest. They sign up because you give an amazing workshop. You don't have to do a pre-consult. What do? I mean, you just get their health problems, do the exam. They get it. You're showing them the x-rays. And they're like, I knew it, doc. So it's going to be 6 months of correction and then once a week for 6 months, right? And we got to do the correction potential x-ray next to find out if that's the program I want, right? Yep, you got it. Let's go do it. There's your report of findings. It doesn't get any easier. The other 3 ways, the other 2 ways, bring them in for a visit. And at the end of the night, you call people in the community and answer questions regarding their health concerns. When you get the first 6 down, then you get 7. Give them a purpose and then have them refer. Now you got the workshop every week. It's a community service. You got friends and family every week. My God, look at this. How can you not absolutely explode your practice without working? That's how you do it. So there you go. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And let's find out. I will unmute you. How do we unmute? Anybody want to be unmuted? Any questions, comments, anything in the chat? You just want me to let you go because it's already been an hour and 9 minutes. Okay, gang, we got one more day tomorrow, man. It's going to be the grand finale. We're going to go through the 20 and 30-year health and life goals, how to read those goals, and how to pull out purpose and create a mission-driven, committed patient that's going to live their purpose, not only bring their whole family tree, but become a messenger. How cool is that? All right. Thanks for hanging with me. Mark, we need to get on the phone. I was thinking about you today going 100 miles an hour. Like, geez, I should probably call him. So if we don't talk tomorrow, man, we'll talk next week. We'll get on the phone and I would love to know what you're taking away. And I will certainly help you implement anything that we can. And thank you guys for being here. Great to see you, Kurt. Susie, you're always committed. Patrick, you're always there. And, unfortunately, most of the people in Lead are going to be listening to the recording. Like, what's up with this live thing, man? Come on. All right, guys. Love and appreciate you. Talk to you soon. See you tomorrow. Have a great evening.